suitcase, the armor in the suitcase, they took that from your
well, yeah, I don't know what was really great about that. When I was on the set of Iron Man 2, the first day I got on the set of Iron Man 2, we were blowing up cars for the racetrack scene in Monaco. They didn't shoot that in Monaco, by the way. It was shot in Long Beach, okay? Which is really funny because the reason they did it in Long Beach is they could get past EPA standards and burn real gasoline instead of smoke pots. You know, it's like, wow, that's great. We can actually pollute. You know, so let's go to Long Beach and shoot it, right? But the first day I was there, I see Downey and he, you know, he comes over. He's getting makeup done, right? You know, he's putting a little blood on him and stuff for the racetrack scene. So we're talking for a while, and I said, well, I haven't seen any of this stuff yet. And he goes, oh, you haven't seen it? And I go, what's it? And he goes, wait a minute. He gets up and he runs over to like the prop tent. There's like a prop tent, and he goes like fishing underneath it, comes out and drops the suitcase in my lap. And I go, you're kidding. He goes, no, we're doing it. I just thought, hey, his enthusiasm for it was just amazing. You know, I just love the fact that he was that excited about it.
He fed off of your ideas, because if I remember correctly,
he read everything I've ever done.
You told me this story. He took this directly from you on the set of the first movie. Someone was asking for a photo, and you said, no, yeah, but no gang signs or nothing. and then he took that from you.
Mikey knows. The people that know me, sarcasm is the milieu in which I thrive. I put a lot of myself into that character, you know, so the Tony Stark's kind of joking mentality is really part of my own, yeah. So, I mean, even Downey kind of said that. He said, you're really more like Tony Stark than I am. I said, I know. I'm not proud of it. It's true. But you're right what you know. Right?
So was that just like a double take when you heard that they were taking that? They're like, put it in the script.
No, they do a lot of stuff like that, you know. I mean, which is great. You got to understand, not only myself, but Favreau signed on because he's a huge Iron Man fan, you know. And Downey, when he got the job, just sat down and just buried himself in this stuff. And of course, Demon and Abad hold people to him the most, but you know, Marvel's never going to do that story unless they do like Phase 10, the Frank Miller Marvel universe, you know, and everybody's dying and dead, and you know. Old man, oh yeah, old man, everyone, and they're depressing Phase 10. Everybody like kills himself.
Heroes in the hero home.
No, but I'm just saying, it's not the theme that Marvel has with their movies. They try to really stay away from dealing with really heavy issues in their films. And you know, I mean, Favreau said, just you know, they're never going to do it because it's probably the greatest Iron Man story ever done. But they're never going to bring it. Screen, which I think that's why they gave Downey a little drunken scene in Iron Man 2. It was kind of like an homage to let him play drunken Tony Stark, and like who would know better than Downey, right? I mean, he's the greatest drunk in the history of Hollywood. I mean, let's say, you know, it's like nobody can really hold a candle to him, you know. So, but he's an amazing guy.
And then when they went to Iron Man 3, and I
wasn't there for that.
They picked on elements from Armor Wars for that. What did you think about that?
Oh God, do I have to talk about Iron Man 3? Okay, let me
there are some people, believe it or not, who liked it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I love you anyway. But I'll give you a quick explanation. At the time, I was in litigation with Marvel, so I was considered persona non grata after the second Iron Man movie. So I had lunch planned with Shane Black. They had brought him on. Shane, here's the trouble with comic book movies, okay? Comic books are like opera. You know, if you're an opera aficionado, you do not want to see the opera in English, in street clothes, done in an alleyway. You want it on stage in costumes in Italian, right? That's what we're used to. There's a certain ambiance that comes with that genre. You guys understand it, and the guys who make good comic book movies understand it. When you get a bad comic book movie, let's pull something out of my butt, like Fantastic Four. The reason you did that is that they hire people who don't understand the material, who've never read the material, and they try to turn it into something that they can understand. So they alter it. They have no respect for the original source material. They don't understand the opera, And so they tried to turn it into something of their own. And as a result, you get stuff like that, Green Lantern, or one of these kind of things. Well, the trouble with Shane Black was Shane Black had never read a comic book in his life. All right? Now, since I wasn't invited to the premiere, because I did not go, because I will not pay money to see my own stuff on the screen, right? So I didn't see the movie for maybe 5 months after it came out. Can I tell the story real quick?
Please.
I'm coming back from a convention in Montreal. I was living in LA at the time. And I was on a red-eye flight. And everybody's asleep. I don't sleep on planes. I can't sleep sitting up. I never have been. So I'm flipping through the movies. I'm sitting first class flipping through the movies. And I see Iron Man 3 on there. I kind of look around, see if anyone's looking. And I'm kind of like, I guess I'll watch it. You know, I'll see. Because I had heard stuff, right? So I put my earphones in, started. So I'm there, right? About 20 minutes later, I feel a hand on my shoulder. And I looked up, it's a flight attendant. And I take my earphones out and I said, yes. She goes, Mr. Layton, are you all right? And I said, yes, why? She goes, you're screaming. Apparently I was shouting at the screen, they're not robots, they can't move of their own accord. He's not an absent-minded professor. He saved his heart with a ball-peen hammer and a tin can in the first movie, and now he can't do anything right. Are you kidding me? I was so incensed that I was actually shouting at the screen. I didn't realize it, okay? So, absolute true story. So I'm not a fan of the third movie, okay?
I think that's the general consensus. Sorry.
The trouble about Hollywood is it gets a little bit nepotistic. I mean, Shane and Downey are really close friends. They've been friends for a long time. They did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang together. And that's what I kind of thought the whole movie was like. It reminded me of a PG-rated Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. You know? Because all you guys wanted an Iron Man movie with no Iron Man in it, right? I mean, that's like, who doesn't want that? Yeah, you know, I mean, that's what happens when somebody who doesn't understand the genre tries to put on an opera. Okay, they don't understand what's required. They don't understand the language. They don't understand how to create that universe credibly. So you don't offend the people who love that character, and yet you can still appeal to a mass audience. You know, a good director understands that. And not that Shane is a good director, he was just the wrong guy for that.
Now, in regards to characters you created, things that have gone to film, another character you created is Scott Lang.
Everything's gone to film.
Pretty much. Another character you created that's gone to film is Scott Lang, Ant-Man. You just got back from the premiere.
I did. It was
what
great.
What did you think of Ant-Man and Wasp? Without spoiling anything.
I got to hug Hannah John Kamen. It was awesome.
Lucky.
She's gorgeous. She plays the ghost, the character of Iron Man. That they turned into a woman. So I said, Kevin Feige's new superpower. We found out it is gender reassignment. Boom, touch you, boom, you're a dude. Oh, boom, you're a girl. You know? Awesome. But I know his secret now.
So, I mean, granted, Marvel's got.
I've seen the movie, by the way. So ask me anything about the movie you want. I've seen Ant-Man. Yes.
I know you can't spoil stuff.
No, I won't. I could. I don't work. I don't care. I got my own movie stuff. I don't care about that.
For the effort that you put in crafting the character and the life that's taken in the books, have you been satisfied with the transition and the depiction that's been made since it's been transferred from print to film?
I mean, since I came out of shock.
That's it.
No, I mean, you got to understand this. When Edgar Wright, one of the first comics he ever read was Marvel Premiere 27, which was done over 40 years ago. All right, and that cover that I did, you know, with him under the magnifying glass, was the thing that inspired Edgar to want to make Ant-Man. That was 2 issues of a modest-selling comic book that was done 40 years ago. The fact that it's an international phenomenon now, I'm still struggling with. Okay, I mean, you know, I travel all over. I go to Dubai, and people are like Ant-Man crazy. Okay, you know, it's like go figure. You know, I mean, that part is just still stunning to me. But that just goes to show you, you just never know. But I am totally pleased. I love the fact that they inculcated the original Ant-Man mythology with the new one that we created. So, and the fact that he was a supporting character in Iron Man for a long time too. But yeah, that was the hook. The difference, Ant-Man, and you go to this movie now and you see he's was the only single dad superhero, and at the time ever created. We always tried to create different kind of characters. I thought, I gotta be a superhero and be a dad too, yeah, the fact that it's caught on the way it has is really amazing. You'll love the second movie, okay? If you love the first one, you'll love the second one. It doesn't have Edgar Wright's sort of social sensibilities. I mean, Edgar makes a lot of, social commentary in what he does in film, like Baskin Robbins always does, that kind of thing. But they do go balls out with the laughs. It is way fun. I mean, you're gonna laugh your bugs off.
And it's not just your Marvel stuff that's gotten a life of its own. Your Valiant stuff is starting to take off too.
I am heading to South Africa in August to be on the set of the filming of Bloodshot. The first
who's starring in that?
Vin Diesel. Yes. So it'll be the first of a series of Valiant films, the Valiant Cinematic Universe, and which I created with Kevin Van Hook and Don Perlin. And I will be there, since I am Valiant Stan Lee, I will be there on the set at their invitation, which is nice. Looking forward to meeting the Vin Man. Everyone says he's great. We'll see. But I've never been to South Africa either, so I'm excited about that. And then Birds of Prey is in pre-production at Warner Brothers right now with The Huntress, who I co-created with Paul Levitz. So it's a big year. Plus, also, okay, this is crazy. My buddy Russ, I told you I don't pay to go see Marvel movies, but my buddy Russ, he's my boy, right? He says, let's go see Deadpool 2. And I'm like, okay, as long as you pay for it. It's like, fine. I don't give Marvel any more money. So,
I think I know this story.
Yeah, so I'm sitting in there, and here comes Fire Fist, Rusty Collins, who I created, okay, in X Factor #1. And I'm like, what? And then the end credits, nothing, no credit, nothing, boom. So, as you imagine, I'm in my car on the phone to my lawyer in California, like, as soon as I get out of there, right? But it's a different deal with Fox, because they license the stuff from Marvel, so they're not required to give me credit. I'm watching Luke Cage, and there's stuff from Hammer Industries and Luke Cage. I'm watching,
Iron Fist?
Yeah, no, but I'm watching, what is it, Cloak and Dagger, which is like watching grass grow. But it's like, no, it's not fair. It's more like watching paint dry. But the Roxxon Corporation's in that, right? I mean, there's almost nothing I can watch at Marvel that doesn't have some sort of something that I
Roxxon was one of the main villains in the Agent Carter TV show.
Yes, I know, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's crazy. So you imagine how I feel. It's like, I see that stuff, but I don't give credit for any of that stuff, but all the things I created has permeated the entire Marvel universe in some fashion or another.
Now, is that the hope that, like, Exo Manowar, Bloodshot?
I think the next one's going to be Faith.
It's going to, okay, Faith.
They just announced it.
That's going to be the next thing that, because there's another.
Who I didn't create, so I don't care.
There's another comic company that wishes that they could get what Marvel's figured out and how to get the flow going. Now, the folks at Valiant, I'm assuming, again, I know what happens when one assumes, that it's the recipe, it's the ingredients that make it work well. Do you think that, I mean, granted, you are there, Stan Lee.
Marvel works because Kevin Feige has a vision, he has it executed. There's a single vision there. Just like the way I ran Valiant was I oversaw the entire universe. I was the cop to make sure the universe all made sense. Well, Kevin Feige is the guy who makes sure the Marvel Cinematic Universe all makes sense. They are pushing forward a vision, regardless of which individual directors and writers are working on it. They're all moving in the same direction together. That is not, you don't see that with DC. That's part of the problem. You just don't get the feel that there's somebody there with a real vision of what's going on. I haven't met all the people involved with the Valiant Universe, Cinematic Universe yet, because like I said, we haven't even started production yet. But I'll let you know, because I'll be blogging all the time from South Africa, so I'm going to let you guys know all this stuff. But more importantly, I moved out of Hollywood a couple of years ago, moved back to Florida. The reason I did that was the film industry in Florida has died, basically, thanks to Skeletor, their governor there, and his anti-arts stance. But he's going to term out in November, and think things are going to change there. And I saw it as an opportunity to revitalize the film industry there. So I went back and started my own production company. We actually started filming, keep my fingers crossed, I know things can happen. My first feature film that I wrote and I'm producing. And we're going to be shooting it in Stockholm, Sweden in March. So it's called The Helix.
Very cool.
It's hard sci-fi. It's not it doesn't have ray guns and aliens and stuff like that. I mean it's more conceptual sci-fi. I'm a fan of that sort of thing. But it's a really good script, and I think you guys will love it. But you'll hear more about it as we get going on that.
Now, your other creations that people would know. I mean, granted, this one was a character that was already in public domain, and you created Marvel's version of it, Hercules.
Yes.
Now, when looking at seeing, okay, they've got the Thor, they've got Loki, they've got all that Norse mythology up there. Let's take Greek mythology and comicize it. What was the recipe? What was the game plan when you're at the drawing board and you're talking with the writer?
I was the writer.
Okay, it was, okay.
Yeah, nobody ever touched Hercules but me. There was a reason for that, because my idea was so stupid that they just shook their heads and said, go ahead and do it.
Was it Jim Shooter who was just like, yeah, go for it?
Well, here's the thing. Jim came to me and said there was they had an idea for doing a limited series, which I always thought was a great idea. I mean, the thing, something open-ended, not open-ended, the beginning and middle and end. And so they asked me and Chris Claremont to do the first two Marvel miniseries ever done. I beat the Wolverine out by 2 weeks, I think. So I actually have that credit on the first Marvel miniseries ever done. But so here's the thing: when I was a kid growing up, I used to love Jack Kirby's Thor. And every so often, Stan would write a story where Hercules comes to New York and just gets drunk and beats the shit out of everybody for no reason, And I'm just like, I always thought this was the dumbest thing. I mean, he just comes down like a jerk and pounds the hell out of everybody and then leaves, right? And I always thought that was hilarious. And I thought, well, I wanted to tell a story, and I thought, well, here's a guy who's 5,000 years old who acts like a child. And I said, I could do something with that. And so I pitched the idea about drunken Hercules in space. Well, also, you got to remember, it was like the 70s Star Wars had just come out too, so space was big. But I thought, even somebody with the powers of Hercules out in space, he's a small, minuscule being compared to the things that are out there, and that's the whole idea. So I sent him out into space to learn humility, which I don't think he ever actually did. But all the Marvel books at that point, I just got done to Demon in a Bottle. Frank Miller was doing Daredevil, where everybody's crying in the streets and bleeding and stuff. It's like, there was a lot of heavy stuff going down in Marvel. Dark Phoenix, they were all crying on asteroids and dying and bleeding. There's a lot of dying and bleeding going on in Marvel, right? And I said, I just want to do something funny. I love something like the Fifth Element. Look at that. That's me. Okay, that's what I think's great, funny science fiction should be. And so that was my thing. I just wanted to lighten up the Marvel universe. So I decided to do a story that culminates with Galactus getting drunk.
And then your thoughts on Hercules becoming an Avenger? Granted, everyone in the past 40 years has become an Avenger.
Yeah.
Don't you have a membership card at home, just like Bob Layton?
I don't have an opinion about that. It's like once, with characters, once they're out of my hands. People think, well, what do you think of the latest Iron Man? I wouldn't know. I won't even look at it. You know what I think Iron Man should be because I put it on paper. All right. If it varies from that, I'm probably not going to like it. So it's kind of like, but also when you're done, you have to turn away. You can't sit there and linger with it because people aren't going to see it the same way as you. I had to do Iron Man twice because they kept killing it, and I had to keep coming back and reviving it, while I was there. I did 2 full runs of the book because nobody seemed to get it, So same with Hercules. It's like other people have done Hercules, but it's not mine. That's why I said in space in the future too. So whatever happened on Earth was in the past. The present day is the past of my stories. My stories take place way in the future, after all the Avengers are dead or whatever. So it doesn't really matter. I wasn't a fan of continuity, so I really didn't want to.
Speaking of continuity and big books that have big franchises. How did you end up with X Factor? Because if I'm not mistaken, there was a story about a debate whether or not to take X-Men and put them on the West Coast and all this other stuff.
Actually, it was one of those things where I came in to pitch another series, another spin-off, third-rate Marvel character that I wanted to do a brand new take on. And I remember I was sitting in an editorial meeting, and they go, "Why don't you do something to make the company money instead?" I said, "Because I love these characters. I love these forgotten characters. I like the idea. I mean, Hercules was a huge success for Marvel sales-wise. And I thought, well, why not take some of the other stuff that nobody wanted and do something with it?" They go like, "Why don't you do something like put the old X-Men back together?" And I'm like, not a bad idea. I said, well, but Jean Grey's dead, so I'll have to come up with.
But then they told you John Byrne had fixed that?
Well, that would fix it. It was kind of like, whatever they did. Kurt Busiek actually came up with the idea.
Fixed it.
Yeah, he went to John. I didn't want to do that because it was done deliberately to kind of take Chris off. Because Byrne and Claremont were feuding at the time. But I'm no idiot either. If they're going to bring back the fifth lost member of the X-Men, I'm going to use her. Okay. Originally, I had Dazzler.
I was going to say, wasn't it?
Dazzler was going to join the group. Change her name to Strobe. I was going to give her more laser-like powers, but because she was at least a mutant running around, didn't have her own book at the time, right? But then I'm no idiot. So once they planned to revive her, I put her in the book, yes. And it was a huge success for, the first issue held Marvel sales records for 10 years before, I guess, Jim Lee broke it with X-Men 1.
Yeah, a couple of people bought that book.
Yeah, no, but I held the all-time sales record of Marvel on X Factor 1 until then.
Now, there were some concepts in there for the time that were kind of just like making people do a double take. I mean, you had a man in a relationship, marriage, with a child, who finds out, my ex-girlfriend's back?
Yeah.
Peace.
Well, yeah, because stuff like that happens in real life.
I mean, did you guys have a standards and practice office that was like,
No. The point of it is, but that's that's the difference between good Marvel characters and bad other comic book characters, is that we do internal conflicts. Marvel characters are always internally conflicted, and that makes the difference. They're always struggling with themselves. Their real battle is always with themselves. And Scott's a tortured guy anyway. I mean, he's not the happiest fellow on the planet, believe me. But I thought it's great drama when the fact that he married her as a surrogate. He wasn't in love with her. He married her because she looked like Jean. It's like, that's so vapid. I don't know who wrote that story, but to me it was just like, yeah, you married her because she looks like your old dead girlfriend? Yeah, I know. To me, that's just, I saw that as not a healthy thing, okay? Because, as much as I love somebody, I wouldn't just want to hang out with their doppelganger, It's like, all it did was remind me, it's like, I couldn't do anything to save her, It's like, I got this, clone sitting here, It doesn't act like her, it doesn't talk like her, it doesn't smell like her, any of that stuff. It's just, to me, that's not realistic. Because that's not how we behave in real life. And I always try to bring something from reality to what I do. Something from the real world. That's the hook that makes Marvel different. Why did you love Spider-Man Homecoming so much? Why? Because he's finally a kid, the way he's supposed to be. That was the hook, that he was a kid pretending to be a man. It was like that was made most apart. Tobey Maguire was 35 years old when he's making Spider-Man. He's hardly a high school kid, I never bought it, did you? It's like that was the hook of the character. And Scott's thing, he married some woman because she looks like a dead girlfriend? Give me a break, dude, And if I was her, I'd hate him for that.
Well, I guess it's a good thing it worked out in her favor, you know, she kind of became possessed with the whole demon thing and all that jazz.
I don't know, I never read any of them again after I leave. After I leave a book, I never read it, you know?
Now, what would it take if...
It's like having your children kidnapped by terrorists.
Wow, okay.
No, it's worse than that, because not only, but the terrorists send pictures of them molesting your children. That's what you see when you pick up a comic book not done by you, with your characters in it. It's a bad feeling, you know, so I tend not to do that. I not subject myself to that.
Well, on a happier note, what would it take, in your opinion, for you to go back and to take the call from whether it be Marvel Editorial, Brevoort, or C.B. Soleski going, hey, the new writer on Iron Man, he came up.
I know where you're going. I'm done with comics.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been done for 10 years now. Have you noticed that? You guys are raised over here. You seen me in anything? I do covers for Valiant once in a while because that's part of my legacy. I'm a founder of the company. I co-created most of the characters. So when they ask me nice and they pay me a lot of money, I'll do a cover, just keep my name out there or whatever, associated. But that's the extent of it. No, I've been working in the film industry for the last 10 years. I have no interest in going back to comics. And here's why. When I worked in Hollywood, my mentor in Hollywood as a writer was Edward James Olmos. I worked for him in his production company. Everyone, you know Commander O'Donnell, right? Great guy. And one night we're out to dinner and I'm lamenting about just what you were saying. It's like, you know, I got so many great fans over, you know, hundreds of thousands of fans over the years, right? Who followed Iron Man, whatever. And I always hear that, why don't you come do another Iron Man, do another Iron Man. And I tried at Marvel, but Marvel's not the same place as it was when I was there. You know, I was there in the Bronze Age, man. It was a different world, okay? And Eddie looks at me and puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, Bobby, he calls me Bobby. He goes, Bobby. He goes, what's one more episode of Battlestar Galactica going to do for my career? I said, absolutely nothing. He goes, you just answered your question. It's like, if you love what I did, and thank you all for being here. You know, I know you wouldn't be here if you didn't. But I'm done. I've done everything. I've owned 2 comic book companies. I've done everything but put the staples in the books, okay? I go to work at the Quebecor, you know, I mean, but I actually worked in a print shop when I was a kid, so, you know. I've done everything that I could do as a creator. There's no mountains left for me to climb. Plus, it's a different business now. I mean, when I was working in comics, we made money. You know, that's something they don't do now either. You know, but I need a challenge as a creator. You know, and moving from comics to film seemed like a logical progression for me because also I want to tell stories where guys don't wear their underwear on the outside. You know, where you can concentrate on nuance a little more. You know, have more complicated characters. Or stories that aren't necessarily superhero based because the power trip doesn't appeal to me anymore either. I mean, let's face it, why do little kids love the Hulk? Because Hulk boils everything down to its most common denominator.
Right.
You know? Yeah, it's like kids feel powerless. So it's like when that teacher makes me stand in the corner, oh, turn green and smash everything in the room, you know? And that's really appealing if you're 7 years old, you know? At 65, not so much, you know? It's like, so for me, it's like I need more nuance, you know, and I need a challenge constantly. I'm like the Madonna of comics anyway. I change my whole deal every 5 years anyway, you know. It's like I go into something new. So I was working as a screenwriter. Now I'm a producer. I have my own film company. You know, before that I did Future Comics where we tried to create a whole new distribution system for the comic book industry, which didn't work, by the way. They crushed me. But I threw $500,000 away, but it was worth it, you know, because at least I tried to do something to make your lives better, to try to change the distribution system. Because the way it is, the margins of comics are almost negligible. Nobody makes money on comics. You know, it's like now they're being done as loss leaders pretty much for licensing and merchandising. You know. It's like the numbers have shrunk down to the point where it's not a viable business model. Somebody says, hey, I'm going to start a new comic book company. I said, what, are you crazy? I'm a business guy. I can tell you right now, it's really not a good investment.
It's like starting a newspaper.
Yeah, who wants to start a newspaper now? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I understand how the P&Ls work. I do a whole lecture about that, by the way. I have this one lecture called How the Comic Industry Works or Doesn't. Is anyone here an accountant? or a banker or anything like that? You are a little bit. Well, what I usually do is have somebody get out their phone, get their calculator out, and I actually do the P&Ls on comics and show you how tiny the margins are. You know, and the fact that Diamond takes, the only people making money is Diamond distributors. Everyone else is just hanging on by their fingernails. You know, and it's sad. But to me, that's not a viable business model. I go to Hollywood, someone calls me and says, look, I need 5 sketches for this movie, just 5 little drawings. Can you knock them out tonight? You know, this character things, sure. So, I mean, looser than I would do here at the con, right? And I get a check for 10 grand. All right, I'd have to do 5 comic books to make that much money, right? You know, so it's like, I'm like, gee, this is not bad. You know, it's like, this is a better business in terms of, comics are great if you're a young guy, you know, trying to make a name for yourself and stuff like that. But, you know, it's not a place, if, you know, when you grow up, you know, it's like, it's not a good place to work. You know, it doesn't have much of a future because everybody kind of just keeps doing the same thing until they drop dead. So I'm not interested in doing the same thing until I drop dead.
Fair enough.
We should take some questions.
Yes, I was going to say, on that happy note, now we got time for questions.
But that, you understand that, right? I'm not being cynical here. It's just, you know, it's just the reality of it. You know, for me, there's nothing that really interests me. Plus, there's the other thing is Marvel, I mean, I bet you at least 2 or 3 of you have some shirt or something on with my art on it. You know, I get nothing for all the merchandise. Marvel made $3 billion in merchandise last year. They don't pay us a cent for any of the art they use. And so the other thing, my lawyer told me if I ever do another page for Marvel Comics, if I ever aid them in my own exploitation, he will break my thumbs. As I get along great with Marvel. I just had, you know, I was just there at the Ant-Man premiere. I had lunch a couple weeks ago in New York with David Bogart, the head of Marvel Legal, and we all get along fine. They understand it's just business. It's, you know, it's not personal, it's just business.
All right. So, the time we got left, let's have some questions. Please be courteous to your fellow fan. Let's do one question, no two-parters.
Just say
just
it.
for the sake of time, so raise your hand.
Yeah.
I just want to say, first of all, one of the things that I really enjoyed about a lot of the characters that you did was bringing in some of the elusive qualities of them, especially in terms of Iron Man, you know, even in Marvel, and bringing to light some of those different aspects. I think that's a quality that a lot of times is within this, in some of the other comics that might not be.
Well, let me tell you a real quick story. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll tell you a quick story. After I did my apprenticeship with Wally Wood, he retired. Okay, so this is teenage Bobby Layton who went to work for Dick Giordano at Continuity Associates, which was in New York. So I would get on the train.